So thank you everyone that joined us today for this webinar about everything you wanted to know about being a lone soldier. My name is Amir, and I'm the director of marketing for Garin Tzabar. I'm from Israel, actually from Ra'anana, not far from Thailand, that some of you might be familiar with. With me is Alon. Alon, do you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Alon Kuba, and I'm the director of the International Garintzabar program.
Thank you, Alon. And also with us is Dorin. Dorin, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. So shalom, everybody. My name is Doreen Kessel, and I'm in charge of the preparation process here in Israel and for South Africans. Nice to see you all.
Great. Thank you, Alon and Dorin. Today, we'll be covering quite a lot, actually. As you can tell by the presentation, you're all seeing it. Say yes with your head. Good, good. So we're going to cover quite a lot. First, we're going to begin with who are the lone soldiers, about the definitions, about making Aliyah, to give you a bit of a clue about things that we're going to, what actually means to be a lone soldier. After that, we're going to discuss in depth what are the meanings exactly of being a lone soldier. What are the challenges? What are you receiving from the army? I mean, in terms of salary and benefits. And then we're going to go into the options that we're now representing. Dorin, Alon, and myself, Garintzabar, which is one of the options for lone soldiers in Israel. Of course, we believe it's the best one. What are the benefits of going with Garintzabar? What is the preparation process looks like for South African? And also how and when to join. And of course, we're going to leave some time for questions from you. We have collected quite a lot of questions on the form before. Some of the questions, if not most of the questions, we're going to answer throughout the webinar. And if you have any questions, please write them down on the chat. Or Alon, if you can write my email, the Garintzabar email, on the chat, and then you can also send questions over there, and we'll try to answer them if we didn't answer them today. We're going to ask everyone to remain on mute throughout this webinar until the question part as well, because we would like to make sure that everyone can hear us and that we can get through the presentation and give you all the information. So on that note, Alon, all yours.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us today to learn a bit more about the IDF, lone soldier in general, the Garintzabar program. Soon, hopefully, will join us our Garintzabar officer in Meitav, the recruitment unit, directly from the army. She will join us to tell you a little bit about the recruitment process to the Israeli army. But let's talk generally about lone soldiers in the IDF, in the Israeli army. So the lone soldier term exists actually earlier to 1948. Even before the state of Israel exists, young Jewish adults from abroad joined the Israeli troops in Israel to fight in Milchemet Yom HaAtzmaut, in the Independence War in 1948, and help to establish the state of Israel. And since then, we have volunteers from abroad, Mahal, that volunteer and join the state of Israel. When you're talking in the past 30, 40 years, you're talking about lone soldier status in the IDF. That means a status that the army described those soldiers. And if you can see in the presentation, we're not talking about the Aliyah, okay, the immigration to Israel. We're talking only about the IDF. So I start from the bottom of the presentation of the slide. You can see we have Boded Muvhak, and you can see we have Boded without family support, Chasar Oref Mishpachti in Hebrew. That means that the IDF separate the lone soldier status to two sections. One is those young adults coming from abroad, that the family stays abroad outside of Israel. and to young adults that are currently in Israel and their parents are in Israel, but they cannot support them, so they have no family support. Usually that means the Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox community, sometimes people from the LGBT community that their family do not support them, and so on. Young adults joining the IDF, but their parents in Israel not supporting them from any reason. That's just a term that the IDF decide to describe those participants, those soldiers, and give them the benefits regarding to being a lone soldier. That's it. If you're talking about Aliyah, and that's total different thing about talking about Ole Chadash, Ole Vatik, and also we have Katin Choser, Toshav Choser, and so on. That's something total different that we're talking about description that the state of Israel, definition that the state of Israel gives to those young adults coming to Israel, by the way, is same as for adults coming to Israel and getting different benefits and becoming citizens in Israel. So we're separating the two definitions of Aliyah, coming to Israel, doing the Aliyah, being immigrant to Israel, and the IDF status and the IDF definition. Today we're going to generally talk about the IDF and not about the Aliyah. I think in the next slide, you can see the email of the Aliyah department in South Africa. No, it's not the next slide, but we'll give you the email. If you have any question regarding Aliyah, please be in touch with the Israeli Center in Joburg or in Cape Town, asking about Aliyah benefits, about the Aliyah process, about opening the Aliyah file, working with Jewish agency, and so on. We cannot separate the Aliyah and being a lone soldier at all. So we will talk a little bit about Aliyah and Aliyah benefit, but generally everything that you need to know about Aliyah, be in touch with the Israeli Center. I know we have here with us in the conversation some representative of the Israeli Center and the Jewish Agency in South Africa, and they are the most knowledgeable people in South Africa about Aliyah. So when we're talking about lone soldiers, as I said, we have two different sections of being a lone soldier in Israel. The one with no family support and the one with no parents. It's kind of F&F, more that no family support. In the past 8-9 years, the Israeli government and the IDF decide to give the opportunity to more young adults that been in the streets or in boarding school and stuff like that to be part of the IDF and to draft to the IDF and get the benefit of being a lone soldier. And that's why we see the increase in numbers of the no family support status. Generally, the no parent status is kind of on the same level in the past, I say, 7-8 years. We don't see any big increase in the numbers. It depends on the months of the year, but we see between 6,200 to 7,000 lone soldiers serving in the IDF, depends on the months. That's generally it. There's no real difference between the two definitions of lone soldiers. Both of them can get the same benefits. The Ole one, the new immigrant, getting some more financial benefit because of the Aliyah process. So it's much more financial beneficial to do Aliyah and be from abroad. But in the IDF, they all do the same service. They serve the same thing in the IDF, and there's no big difference between of them. When we're talking about being a lone soldier in the IDF, the most important thing for every young adult, and I'm sure for the parents as well, that's one of the things that you're mostly concerned about, where they're going to live. If you're thinking about the Maslow pyramid, where they're going to live, what they're going to eat, and only after that, what position will they get, which friend will they have in the kibbutz or in the army, and so on. So the basic information about being a lone soldier in Israel is options of housing, living condition in Israel. Currently, the IDF offer 5 different options. One of them is living in a central soldier house. In Israel, we call it Bet HaChayal. We have around 7 of them across the country. Those are, if one of you are ex-Israeli, maybe you remember them from the trips in the army. It's kind of a big, trying to find the word, achsaniya, motel, a big place that you can find maybe 200 beds over there that people live for there. It's not really a homey feeling. It's not a place that you feel at home or with family support, but they are in the major cities across Israel. We have soldier houses, also founded by the IDF and by Aguda Leman HaChayal. We have around 150 of them, 150 of them across the country. You can live between 4 to 6 participants, soldiers, in one apartment. You cannot choose your roommate, and usually you cannot choose the apartment. You can choose the city that you like to live in, and that's another option that's being subsidized by the army. Personally, for new immigrants or Olim coming to Israel, I do not recommend about those two options because they do not have the family support environment. They don't have the community. You don't have really option to choose your roommates and so on, and no really support system that can hold you. Other options is to rent an apartment in Israel and get up to 1,300, 1,300 shekels a month if you show a contract to the army. But that means that you need to rent an apartment by yourself, find yourself the roommates, pay your own bills, actually taking care about, even the cleaning supplies and toilet paper and so on, and making sure to pay the city taxes. And if you have any problem in the apartment, you need to call the plumber by yourself and take care of everything by yourself. But for people that are very, very Israeli, have a wide network, family support system in Israel, or friends and social network in Israel, maybe it's a good option to be very independent and by themselves. The other option, the last one that we are really promoting, is living in a kibbutz. This is what we have in Garintzabar, except of the Ra'anana facilities that we have, that Amir will talk about later. We usually work 80% of Garintzabar is in the kibbutzim. In a kibbutz, you live in a community that give you the support of other families, of other people, young adults that living in the same place. You are covered, all the fees, you don't need to pay electricity, or about laundry supplies, or cleaning supplies, or internet, or for food, and everything is taken covered. Of course, no taxes and nothing. You're getting everything. You're getting a coordinator, a staff member that's in charge of you for the entire army period. So you are covered from everything that you need, and you have the widest support system that you can get. But to be as honest as I can, it's not only pros. We have some cons for living in a kibbutz. It's not in the center of Israel. It's not in Tel Aviv. It's not in Jerusalem. It's usually in the far periphery of Israel. Israel is the small country. It's not South Africa, but 2 hours, an hour and a half from Tel Aviv, it's already a periphery in Israel. So living in the Negev, in the desert, in the Gaza border, in the Galilee, Bet Shan area, western coast of the Mediterranean, and so on, Upper Galilee. This is the places that our kibbutzim are in. And you can imagine that living in a kibbutz is not living in a city. You have a wider options of facilities, and the apartments are less crowded. So those are for the living options. A young adult that's serving the IDF can choose. The army won't obligate him to live in a kibbutz or in a central house or anything like that. He needs to be the one that tells his commander and the army human resource department where he wants to live and what housing subsidies he wish to get. As I said earlier, you can take a screenshot of this slide, and if you need, we'll send the email and details separately. This is the Aliyah department in South Africa for the Israeli centers. If you have any question at all about Aliyah, about that process, please be in touch with them. As you can see, we're really proud of our alumni and our soldiers. We have lots of alumni and soldiers currently in Army service. Garintzabar was established in 1991. So we know that our participants, we're not selling anything, we're not recruitment, we're not trying to promote serving in the IDF. We just like to help young adults that wish to do Aliyah and be in Israel, and we're doing our best to give that support system. As I said earlier, we're not only talking about the pros of coming to Israel and getting financial benefits. We didn't open, we're talking about the money. We're talking about the challenges also of being a lone soldier in Israel. Okay, we have lots of challenges of being a lone soldier in Israel, and Garin Tzabar gladly has the experience to handle them and give the right support system. When we're talking about young adults, it can to be a lone soldier, it will come to be a lone soldier in Israel. By the way, we're talking about the ages of 18 to 24, okay? Adults, but still young. So young adults coming to Israel, they have the barrier of the language, okay? It's a huge one. Even if they think that they watch some Israeli TV shows, Fauda, Eretz Nehederet, and listen to Israeli music like Static and Ben-El and Eyal Golan and everything, they don't really understand the different mentality, the humor, the children's songs that we all grow on them, okay? The other TV shows, everything that happened in Israel, and that's maybe Hebrew, it's the key for everything. I cannot emphasize anymore how Hebrew is important for the success in Israel. If you like to get a good position in the army, you have to get a good Hebrew. If you want to succeed to talk with your roommates, if you don't want to be ripped off when you're going to buy a falafel or ice cream, you need to know Hebrew. Even if in Israel we all talk very good, hopefully we talk good English, and usually in high school in Israel, you're obligated to do matrix in English and so on. It's not that easy. And if you don't have at least the basic Hebrew that you need, or to understand the Hebrew, for example, you can see me, I'm talking very fast. Okay, I know it on myself. So try to imagine me speaking in Hebrew, and other people, you know, that do not familiar with Hebrew that good need to understand my Hebrew when I'm speaking fast Hebrew. And I'm a regular Israeli, and a commander in the army that's going to yell at you in Hebrew, and you have no idea what he said. That's a problem. And when you're going to do the Hebrew test, and you wish to do, and you're a female, and you wish to be a social worker in the army or firearm instructor, and the army will say, sorry, you cannot get a position because of your Hebrew, or worse than that, you will join the army, get to the firearm instructor course, and after 2 weeks, they will kick you out because you don't have a good level of Hebrew and you do not understand the information of the course. That's going to be a very, very big disappointment. Okay, so that's why we're putting so much effort to give you the keys to succeed, the tools to succeed with your Hebrew in Israel. By the way, again, the Israeli Center in South Africa also has some opportunities for learning Hebrew from South Africa. So if you want to get a little bit advanced in your Hebrew level, please be in touch with the Jewish Agency delegates in South Africa. They can give you some other tools relevant only for South Africa. When we're talking about mentality, the chutzpah that we all know of the Israeli, being rude, being very direct, medabrim tachles, you know, that's something that most of you that have, some of you have more British attitude for stuff. We're not familiar with that in Israel. We're not standing in line to the right in the mall, and we're not polite to each other, and we're very touching, and we don't keeping on the personal space of each other. And that's something that takes time to understand. And we're talking about culture, the Chagim, the holidays, it's really different in Israel, not only because of the coronavirus, okay? Regular times, the holidays is different. Even after we do the Kabbalat Shabbat, the Kiddush, and Yom Shishi, it's really different in different places of the world. And in Israel, it's different as well, okay? And when everybody gonna do Kiddush and Yom Shishi and Friday night at the army base when they're closing Shabbat and staying together in the base, and you're not familiar with what they're doing, and everybody thinks that you're the outsider, that's one challenge that the young adults coming to Israel at the age of 18 need to understand how you're going to handle. It's not something that you cannot overcome, but you need to prepare to how to handle it and how to succeed, overcome that. And if you're coming by yourself to Israel and have no support system, no preparation process, usually that's something that it's harder to understand how to succeed, and that could be a major throwback for young adults. And of course, the distance from the family and understanding that you cannot come to visit. And if you have the bat mitzvah of the second cousin, maybe you will not be able to fly back to South Africa and be with your family. And that's another thing that the people, you, the parents, they're putting some pressure on the young adults, or the young adults themselves, the soldiers, wish to come back to South Africa or to visit their parents, and they cannot. And, you know, even sometimes at nighttime that you have 1 hour a day that you can call your parents in boot camp, in training in the IDF, and you're calling and you want to cry and yell about the break from your boyfriend, that your boyfriend break up with you, or that your commander yell at you, and your parents do not understand you. Maybe, you know, maybe they can understand a little bit about what's going on in Israel, but they understand 20% of that. It's not enough. You need somebody that really understands you, peers, other friends like you, other people that been in the same process, other people that understand being a lone soldier in Israel, serving in the IDF and being independently, being alone. You need somebody that can give you the tools to succeed and overcome that challenge with you. And of course, logistics, you know, financials and getting along in public transportation in Israel and knowing when they're telling you to be in Beersheba at 8 a.m., how you're going to get there from the other side of the country, you know, that you have no idea how the buses and trains work in Israel, how the bank system work in Israel, and stuff like that. Again, for young adults at 18 years old, I think I won't surprise none of you when I'll say that I'm pretty sure that even back in South Africa, young adults at the age of 18 do not know to cook to themselves, to do laundry by themselves, to clean their own rooms. I'm pretty sure in that. Okay, so they need to come in Israel, and now they need to do everything by themselves and also take care of their financial situation, work with the bank company, open cellular account by themselves, doing some bureaucracy in Israel with national security and medical care, and so on. Of course, the army entire bureaucracy. That's something that they need somebody to guide them, to help them, to take them hand by hand. And that's another challenge that we can see. We will wait with those slides about the recruitment to the IDF to our officer that will join us, and she can talk about it much more. So we'll skip that, that one. I'll talk a little bit about benefits in the army. When we're talking about lone soldiers, and as I said, housing is the most important thing, making sure where you're going to live. But not less important than that, it's money. It's getting the financial benefits and so on. So as you can see, that table of content, it's from January to 2019. It can be changed, okay? It hasn't been changed for a while because we do not have government in Israel, but it can be changed. Generally, young adults that serve as a lone soldier in the Israeli army can get up to 3,500 shekels a month, okay? If we get all the benefit of the Aliyah and so on. And if you live in a kibbutz, as we said, on Garintzabar, you do not have expenses, except, of course, private expenses if he needs to buy something for his room, ice cream in the pool, cigarettes, personal items, and so on. But generally, you can save a lot of money, and you need to be financially smart to handle all of that amount of money that you're going to get. We in Garin Tzabar give our participants the tools to succeed and not fall to the traps of buying 5 tablets and 5 cell phones in the central bus station in Israel, and make sure that they can save their money for a rainy day. Other benefits that lone soldier can get, it's once in a month or in 2 months, depends where you are in the army, you can get Yom Sidurim. Yom Sidurim, it's an arrangement day. That means that the army give you a free day, 24 hours, to go and do everything that you need. And when we're trying to imagine ourselves, if we need to go to a bank, we know, or waiting for somebody to fix our laundry machine, we know that at least half of our day is gone because we're waiting in lines and handling bureaucracy and so on. And if I need to drive in public transportation to do the commute from my base in the south of Israel to my kibbutz in the north of Israel or something like that, and that's at least, I don't know, 5-6 hours going to the base and back, and to handle all the bureaucracy, I need a full day for that arrangement. And hopefully none of the participants of Garintzabar will have major things that they need to handle, because our staff in the kibbutzim can help with that as well and make sure that all of the arrangement will be much easier and quicker. I think maybe the most important benefit that the lone soldier get is the flight to visit the parents at home. That's one of the best things that the IDF gives to a young adult, serve as a lone soldier, only for lone soldiers that the parents are not in Israel. It's a return flight ticket to visit the parents. Unfortunately, in the coronavirus time, it's been suspended, but same as most of the flights across the globe. But in regular times, you can get up to 30 days a year, up to a month a year to visit your parents, but only once in a service you can get the flight ticket for free. When we're talking about men servicing the IDF, young men serve for 82 months, 2 years and 8 months currently, and adult men after the age of 20 serve for 24 months, 2 years. Females in Garintzabar serve the entire time for 24 months, 2 years. Females outside of Garintzabar, depends of the year, until the age of 22 can serve a year and a half, and so on. But it's really, we need to check it personally for each participant. Other benefits, they're getting the free accommodation, as we talked, that the army pay. We're getting, every month, they're getting 150 shekels in the ID card to buy in Shufersal. That's the biggest pick and pay, I think, in Israel, that they can buy everything except of alcohol and cigarettes. They get, for the holidays, they're getting extra money in Rosh Hashanah and Pesach as a gift from the army. Of course, if they need any support system, if something happened with the family, in the immediate family, something happened, so the army can cover the emergency flight back home, and so on. You can see the benefits. We can go to the next slide. They're getting other benefits of being lone soldier, getting earlier from the base back home to the kibbutz to have enough time to go to the market or something like that, to buy the stuff they need for the weekend. Of course, everything is comparing to regular Israeli soldiers. We talk about the flight, we're talking about the vacation. If parents are coming to visit the kids in Israel, so they get up to 8 days a year to leave the army, to be with the parents. Of course, you need the commander's permission. And if you're in some special training, or if you're in an operation in Hebron or in Gaza, or something like that, so of course you won't be able to leave to visit your parents. But in regular times, with the approval of your commanders, you can get those days to be with your family in Israel or abroad. I think, and after the army, it was in the last line, but after the army, they get lots of benefits of studying in Israel, scholarship for university or college, lots of opportunities to get grants after the army for the first 12 months, 1,000 shekels a month, 4,000 rands a month to subsidize rent for released lone soldiers, most of the higher education in Israel for released lone soldiers, and so on. For the new Olim, and as I said, we'll talk very little about the Aliyah because you have the great staff of the Israeli Center. They have other great options of benefits for the Aliyah. The major stuff that's important for us is the free social security for the first year, that means free medical care, the Kupat Cholim in Israel, the basic one, of course, not the premium one, but the basic one is for free. They get approximately 17,000 shekels, okay? One-time grant, it's not one time, it's 5 payments, but that's a grant for the Aliyah, Sal Klita, another 2,500 shekel a month from Nefesh B'Nefesh grant for lone soldier that did Aliyah. Doesn't matter from where they're coming from the world, could be from India, South Africa, Brazil, or the US. And of course, we talked about after the army getting the BA or the MI or the MA funding and more for the Aliyah. So if I want to cover the financial benefits, if you're doing the Aliyah, you're getting in the first 2 years, including all the benefits, could be up to 45,000 shekels, only benefits because of the Aliyah, that if you're a regular lone soldier, Israeli lone soldier, you will not get. So that's another major thing. Okay, yes, I see the question of Greg in the chat. We can send the relevant information as well in the email list if anyone needs. And of course, you can write questions in the chat on any time.
Thank you, Alon. We'll now go to speak about Garintzabar in depth. But before we do that, and given technology will allow us, I will share a short clip with you. Just 1 second. And
Garin Tzabar. Ready, set, go. Established in 1991 by the Israeli Scouts, 7,400 miles away in San Francisco, one Garin of 20 teenagers made history. Today, you can find people from New York, Chicago, Washington, LA, Florida, England, France, Denmark, Germany, Ukraine, Russia, Belgium, Greece, Italy, Hong Kong, Philippines, Japan, Australia, Thailand. I'm not kidding. First, you need to be 18 to 23 years old, 100% motivated, 3 interviews, 5 seminars, at least 20 new friends, 24 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, and a one-way ticket to Israel.
Flight attendants, prepare for takeoff.
City or kibbutz, host families, ulpan, seminars, trips, holidays, army preparation, tryouts, interviews, unbelievable 3 months of one unforgettable absorption process. 2 or 3 years of Army service, more than 40 different units, 30% go to officer and commanding course, and 1 beautiful Garin Tzabar backpack. Over 5,000 alumni members, 70% stay in Israel, 30% of families come back, and there are hundreds of Garin ambassadors all over the world. It all adds up to one big happy family. Garin Tzabar, family for life.
Okay, so that is our video clip. Just one sec. So far, technology has been good to us. So, in a nutshell, Garintzabar was created to provide to those young adults who come to Israel a support system in order to make sure they don't feel alone and all their needs are accommodated and so on. Here you can see our history. As Alon said, we started from at 1991. We were at the beginning 20 people from San Francisco, and we grew with the years. As you can see, from 2017 till today, we're quite in the same numbers of Garinim. We're talking about roughly 400 new Olim lone soldiers a year. We're talking about 1,200 active lone soldiers at all times, which makes us the biggest program for lone soldiers in Israel. Garintzabar is working with the kibbutz movement and the religious kibbutz movement that we'll speak about it in a second. And throughout the years, we've been, actually this is not up to date, but we have more than 65 kibbutzim over the years, throughout the years that took Garintzabar to their homes. And when we're saying a kibbutz took Garintzabar in, it's not just providing accommodation and services and so on. This is the obvious. But when a kibbutz, a community, takes Garintzabar, the whole community is invested in it, including host families that we'll talk about it in a second, and the whole kibbutz system is working for the benefit of the lone soldiers. In addition to kibbutz, we have Garintzabar village in Ra'anana, which is actually the biggest lone soldier center in Israel, accommodating almost 200 lone soldiers. The difference is between Ra'anana and the kibbutz, besides the fact that Ra'anana is a city that I assume most of you South Africans are familiar with. The difference is that in Ra'anana, it's living in apartments as part of buildings, and in kibbutz is more it's more kibbutz, small cottages, lifestyle. When we're talking about Garintzabar, there are 4 stages that are really important to know, and we're gonna focus on the 3 first ones. So let's dive in. Before we speak about the stages themselves, there are a lot of benefits that, in addition to the benefits that lone soldier gets, that Alon described earlier, we are talking about the special benefits that are unique for Garintzabar, and that is, of course, the preparation process and absorption process. The absorption process is very unique and so important for lone soldiers that we'll speak about it in a few slides ahead. The ulpan, as Alon mentioned, Hebrew is a key component in a lone soldier's life because the way that everything is handled here in Israel and in the army is surrounded by Hebrew. And we'll get to it in a second. Designated army unit. With us, just joined in is Lieutenant Noam Deljo. She is our special officer within the Meitav unit. Meitav is the unit that is in charge of getting everyone their positions and getting the right position to every soldier. Noam is also in charge, thanks to Noam and her team. A fast recruitment process is available for Garintzabar soldiers. Just to put it in context, when I joined the army back in 2019, 18, no, I'm joking, but a long time ago, I actually needed to go through a 1.5 years of trials, and only then I joined the army. That's every Israeli that joins the army. That's the process they need to go through. The Garintzabar soldiers do this process from the minute they land in Israel to the day they join the army. We're talking about 3.5 months. It's amazing. Special group experience. The whole idea of Garintzabar is built around the group. The idea that your shared peers are people that go through the same hardships and happy things as well, like you, is a key component in Garintzabar and the support system that we're providing. The 360 support system that we're talking about, psychologically, bureaucracy, accommodation. Basically, if I need to sum it up in a phrase, is Hakuna Matata. You don't need to worry about anything. The bureaucracy is being handled for you. When I'm saying being handled for you, is literally we're taking you to the bank, to a special branch that knows that you're a Garintzabar soldier, and we open a bank account for you. We're taking you to Misrad Apnim, to the Ministry of Interiors, to sort out all the issues involved there, to get the Teudat Zehut. Everything is being sorted for you. Sometimes as an Israeli, I'm jealous at Garintzabar soldiers, because when I have an issue with the bank, I need to call Brazilian people, and for Garintzabar, they sort it out for them, including the accommodation. I mean, again, there are no worries at all. You get 3 hot meals a day when you're at the kibbutz or the center in Ra'anana. You don't pay the bills, electricity, Wi-Fi, water, property taxes. Everything is sorted out for you. If there is even someone who takes care of your laundry, I have to say, Garintzabar participants might have to put their laundry themselves in the washing, but it will be taken care of in terms of they don't need to worry about it. They will have the means and ability to do it. Accountability. Look, we've been around since 1991. I can say honestly for myself that I've been involved with Garintzabar for almost 2 years now. But the program was there before me. It will probably be after. It's the most stable, most experienced program in the market today for lone soldiers. So that must be count for something. And subsidies. Because Garintzabar is involved with so many different organizations and government offices, such as Misrad HaBitachon, Ministry of Defense, Misrad HaKlita, Misrad HaChinuch, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Interior, Masa Israel Journey, the Jewish Agency. So many people are involved in this that we're able to provide vast subsidies for our program. And we'll get to it when we talk about the financial part. But I just want to say, to be very, very clear, there's no way, no possible way that a person will want to join Garintzabar and financial means will stop him from doing that. We have people who are paying less than $100 for the whole thing because that's our pillar, if you want. A person who needs support will get it, and we're buying for that. Meet Daphna, our alumni from Garintzabar IBIM. Besides Daphna, the way that we support that is really special for Garintzabar, thanks to Noam's position and what she and her team are doing, we're able to change position. Now it's a tricky one, and people should understand it. And Noam will speak about it later on when she talks about how the army assigns positions. But with Garintzabar, there is a better possibility for an individual to maximize their potential within the army. Meaning, if someone can be a combat soldier in Golani, he won't be a cook. And someone who can't be a combat soldier will be put in the position that maximize his or her potential. I think the main part about this is that you have someone to turn to. You won't fall between the cracks in terms of positions in the army, and we will do our very best to support you in this term. Bureaucracy, I've already spoken about it. Really, everything is being taken care of in terms of that. House visits. Basically, you have your own house. You don't need to jump from one place to another if you choose to go to Bet Hayal or something like that. And we make sure that your house is maintained regularly. We make sure that you have everything you need, and so on. Financial help. In addition to the subsidies that I've already spoken about, we have the ability to connect people who encounter financial difficulties with private donors or with the Jewish Agency in cases of emergency. It's something unique for Garintzabar, this network of very generous people who can assist. Ceremonies and visits. There's no way, just like I said before, there is no way a person, of course, not in coronavirus time, there's no way a person is going to finish their course or is going to have a ceremony and a Garintzabar member or staff or the coordinators will not attend the ceremony. I remember personally as a soldier finishing my course. I served in a tank unit. The ceremony was huge, thousands of people, and there's nothing worse than a feeling of a soldier that his or her parents didn't show up for the ceremony, without friends, without anyone who comes. And Garintzabar, we just go. We just come to your ceremonies. We visit you. Emotional support is very, very important. Look, serving as a soldier, not a lone soldier, a regular soldier, is not easy. It's really, really difficult. It's difficult for Israelis who were born and raised here, and it's difficult for lone soldiers by 100 times. And the emotional support that we provide, not just by you have someone to take care of you, the group support. Every weekend that soldiers are coming back from the army, they have a group meeting to talk about the week they had, how to solve problems. Sometimes the help won't come from a professional, or the solution won't come from someone older that will give you it. It will come from someone who has experienced the same thing as you did and overcome the difficulties. And that's very, very important. In addition to the group support, of course, we have our coordinators that are there to support, and if needed, specialists, and so on. Understanding rights. What Alon spoke about earlier with the lone soldier rights and the Aliyah rights and the benefits and everything like that, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. The government of Israel, like the government of I assume, or want to think like that, any other government won't just pour money on you. You have to ask for it. And some lone soldiers don't even understand their rights in order to ask. So we are there for them. Someone went out of mute. We're there for them in order to explain the rights and make sure that they receive all the benefits. Being there for lone soldiers when their parents are far, it's kind of the obvious, but we need to talk about it. I can share a very sad event that happened to Garintzabar, to a Garintzabar soldier just recently. Unfortunately, we had one member of our Garinim, one Tzabarnik, who one of his parents passed away in the States just recently, and we were there. I mean, to help him sort out the immediate flight tickets, to sort out all the bureaucracy, to speak with his commander. So that's something that not everybody has. And being there for them, it's not only in the hardships, it's with happy things as well. What do you do if your aunt just gave birth to a new nephew of yours? What do you do? It's very difficult, and we're there to support. So now we're going to dip to the preparation process itself. Doreen, my colleague here, is the one representing it, and she will be the one to be in touch with you South Africans who will choose to do Garintzabar. Basically, when we're talking about a preparation process, if you decide to make Aliyah before joining Garintzabar, if you're doing Ulpan Kibbutz, let's say Ma'agan Michael, that I know a few of you South African chooses to do before making Aliyah and joining the army, then you'll have 4 weekends of seminars here in Israel, maintained by Doreen and her team. And if you decide to be in South Africa and make Aliyah from then we have an international online process. Of course, due to coronavirus and the times that we're all living at, we are all bound to do everything online. And we, let's say Doreen and her team are like, they brought this process, their international process, to perfection. Not perfection, but it's a well-maintained process nowadays. We were planning actually to come to South Africa and hold a special seminar, or in Jobo or in Cape Town, but again, because of Corona, we didn't have the chance. Of course, during the seminars, we're talking about mental and social preparation for the army and for living in a group, which is, as I said, a key component in Garintzabar's life. Learning about Israel, learning the culture, learning the history, kind of making sure that when a person comes to Garintzabar and to the army and makes Aliyah, they're all on the same level. They won't fall from their Israeli friends. That's what we try to do. And also getting to know the IDF, what are the different possibilities. Noam and her staff, they are part of this preparation process with us. During the preparation process, you will meet IDF officers from the Meitav unit that will interview you and so on. Of course, we're checking as well to see if you're even fit for service and fit for Garintzabar, and those are 2 separate things. We'll get to it when we'll talk about the recruitment, the requirements, sorry, not recruitment. Of course, everything that we're saying about Garintzabar that does apply for people who keep Shabbat, that are religious. The guidelines that we've laid down to distinguish between a regular Garin or a secular Garin and a religious Garin. The religious Garin, because they go to communities that are observant, then they need to be Shomer Shabbat, Shomer Kashrut, and come to Tfilot. They need to dav. And of course, it changes between each kibbutz and each coordinators, but these are the guidelines. So if you are a person who Shomer Shabbat, Shomer Kashrut, and daven, then the religious Garin is an option for you. You will be in a community that does all those things. And also the educational part will also include religious aspects. Continuing to the absorption process, the absorption occurs here in Israel when people finish their preparation process and they come to Israel. It's the first 3.5, 4 months, depends on the year, depends on the Chagim and so on. Before, when you arrive to Israel, before joining the military. Just 1 second. Sorry. This period is dedicated for settling into the kibbutz or Ra'anana, settling into the community, getting to know your whereabouts, what's around you, and so on. And everyone is gets assigned a host family, which is another major thing with Garintzabar.